So I live in one of those neighborhoods with a homeowners association and HOA, and for the most part, it's fine. They keep the common areas looking nice and everyone's pretty chill. Everyone except for her, let's call her Karen. Now this Karen was the self-appointed queen of the HOA, the president, treasurer, and head of the architectural review committee. Basically, if a leaf fell the wrong way on your lawn, you'd be hearing from Karen. My first running with her was about my mailbox. Apparently it was, and I quote, an unapproved shade of black. It was the standard black mailbox that came with the house. I got a notice with a fine attached. I painted it the exact same color, sent her a picture, and the fine was waived. Annoying, but I figured, okay, I'll just keep my head down and stay off her radar. Oh, how naive I was. Over the next year, it was a constant barrage of nonsense. My trash cans were visible from the street for exactly 1 hour. Too long on trash day, fine. I had a small decorative garden gnome. That was apparently not in harmony with the neighborhood's aesthetic. Fine. My holiday lights were up 2 days past the approved takedown date. You guessed it, another fine. Each time I'd comply, I just wanted to live in peace. But it became clear that Karen wasn't just enforcing rules. She was on a power trip, and I seemed to be her favorite target. The final straw, the one that broke the camel's back, was about my fence. I have a dog, a sweet golden retriever named Buddy. For his safety, I wanted to install a fence in my backyard. I went through the proper channels, submitted the application to the Architectural Review Committee, which was, of course, just Karen. I chose a beautiful, high-quality white vinyl fence, exactly the same style as 3 other houses on my street. It was a slam dunk right wrong. My application was denied. The reason, potential to obstruct scenic views. Scenic views of what, my neighbor's back porch. It made no sense, the other houses with identical fences had their applications approved years ago. Before Karen took over, I tried to reason with her. I went to the next HOA meeting armed with photos, printouts of the community guidelines, and a very calm, polite demeanor. Karen shut me down immediately. She said the previous approvals were mistakes made by a more lenient board, and that she was restoring the original vision of the community. Her tone was smug, condescending, and she had this little smirk on her face the whole time. The other board members just sort of nodded along, clearly too intimidated to challenge her. I left that meeting absolutely furious. It wasn't about the fence anymore, it was about the principle. This woman was a bully using the HOA bylaws as her personal weapon. And I decided right then and there that I was done playing defense. It was time to go on the offensive. So what do you do when you're dealing with someone who lives and breathes by the rule book? You become an expert on that rule book. I spent the next week doing nothing but reading. I read every single word of the HOA covenants, conditions, and restrictions. I read the bylaws, the meeting minutes from the last 5 years, and even the state laws governing HOAs. I highlighted, I took notes, I cross-referenced. My living room looked like a scene from a legal thriller. And I found it a beautiful, glorious loophole. The bylaws stated that any homeowner could call a special meeting of the association with a petition signed by just 10% of the residents. Our neighborhood had 100 homes. I needed 10 signatures. But the best part was what the meeting could be about. The bylaws were written in a way that allowed for a vote of no confidence to remove any board member, including the president, if a quorum of homeowners was present. It was a long shot, but it was a shot. The next phase of my plan was to go door to door. I was nervous. What if everyone loved Karen? What if they thought I was just a troublemaker? I put on my friendliest smile, grabbed Buddy's leash, because who can say no to a golden retriever, and started walking. The first door I knocked on belonged to my next-door neighbor, a quiet older gentleman. I explained the situation with the fence, and before I could even finish, he was nodding her, "Oh yeah." She fined me because my garden hose wasn't coiled in a perfect circle. He signed immediately. It was the same story at almost every house. The guy across the street, fined for having a basketball hoop that was a temporary structure, left out for too long. The young couple down the block, a warning for their toddler's brightly colored plastic slide in the backyard. It turned out I wasn't Karen's only target. I was just the one who finally decided to fight back. Everyone was tired of her tyranny, but they were all too scared or too busy to do anything about it. I wasn't just getting signatures, I was building a coalition. In 2 days, I had over 40 signatures. 40% of the neighborhood with the petition in hand. I formally requested the special meeting. Karen was legally obligated to schedule it. You could feel the tension in the air when the email announcement went out. The subject of the meeting was listed vaguely as discussion of board governance. As per my request, I wanted the element of surprise. The night of the meeting, the community clubhouse was packed. More people showed up than I had ever seen at an HOA meeting. Karen was at the front looking flustered, but trying to maintain her air of authority. She opened the meeting, and I immediately raised my hand to speak. As was my right, according to the bylaws I now knew by heart, I stood up, my heart pounding, and I laid it all out. I didn't yell or get emotional. I spoke calmly and factually. I talked about the fence, but I also brought up the garden hose, the basketball hoop, the toddler's slide. I quoted the bylaws she had used against us, and then I quoted the sections about community harmony and reasonable enforcement that she had conveniently ignored. As I spoke, I could see people in the audience nodding, whispering to each other. They were recognizing their own stories in mine. I ended my speech by saying, "The purpose of an HOA is to maintain property values and foster a sense of community, not to serve as the personal kingdom of one individual. We need a board that serves the homeowners, not one that bullies them." Then I made the motion. I move for a vote of no confidence in the current president. The room was silent for a second, and then someone seconded the motion. Karen's face went from pale to beet red. She started sputtering about rules and procedures. But I was ready. I quoted the exact bylaw that allowed for this vote. She had no choice but to let it proceed. We did a paper ballot vote. As the votes were being counted, you could cut the tension with a knife. The final tally was announced. 63 to 12.63 votes in favor of removing her as president. The room erupted in applause. It wasn't just a victory for me and my fence. It was a victory for everyone. Karen just grabbed her things and stormed out without a word. The next week, a new interim board was established, full of reasonable people I'd met while gathering signatures. My fence was approved unanimously at the very next meeting. It's installed now, and Buddy loves his backyard. The whole vibe of the neighborhood has changed. People are friendlier, more relaxed. We even have a community barbecue planned for next month. It just goes to show that sometimes to beat a bully, you just have to read the rules better than they do, and maybe have a cute dog on your side. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.